Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Kernels, where we talk all about the world of movies, video games, TV shows, and all the glorious things that go on within it. Welcome back to another episode. This is episode 20. It's been a few weeks now since I've done an episode. If you guys are curious as to what I did in the last episode, I'll link it somewhere in the video so you can give it a watch. If I'm not mistaken, it's where I broke down Rotten Tomatoes, what exactly it is, how you become a critic, and things of that nature. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to check it out, and I surely appreciate it. Setting the scene a little bit, it's Sunday morning. It is approximately Sunday, October 24th, in the middle of spooky season at 8:23 in the morning, which means I am wearing the same Dartmouth hoodie that I've been wearing just about every day this week because it is freezing outside. Now we're getting down into the 50s, and it just hasn't been pleasant going in terms of weather outside, so now we got to start bundling up, and I even turned on the heat yesterday. I turned on the heat, and my God, was it worth it, because I was freezing my ass off trying to write the review for Dune, which, if you guys haven't seen Dune yet, I'll link my video in the description below also so you guys can see it, or maybe I'll link it somewhere in the video, but I wrote a review for it yesterday, came out at about 3 o'clock. Dune is wonderful. Dune is an experience like I never thought I would have going into it, especially in light of the fact that I knew nothing about Dune going into it. This movie was done so well in so many ways that it truly felt like an overall experience. You had great acting, you had great story, you had great characters, you had great score, you had great costume design, and you had insane world building to top it all off, and it made it really feel like it was making something it was something special, and it's something that's going to continue to grow, and I just can't wait to see where it goes from there. Timothée Chalamet was godlike as the main protagonist, Paul, in the movie. I've heard crazy stuff about him as an actor, especially a younger actor. I believe he's only 25, so he's still got a long time in his career to go, but man, that guy is just wonderful. Him, Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, all of them were great. Every single one of them, they're just fabulous. So that's my quick thoughts on Dune for the week. But let's recap the week in question. Whether or not you look at this podcast as a recap of last week or a preview of the coming week, I'll let you decide. But what happened within the last week? I reviewed a few films. I reviewed Dune. I reviewed Halloween Kills. And I also reviewed The Last Duel. I had the pleasure of seeing all three within the last 7 days, which was absolutely delightful, and I enjoyed every second of it. Even if I didn't like all three movies as much as I wanted to, that doesn't matter. I'll let you guys kind of peruse through those as you see fit. But I thought the Halloween Kills was the most fitting for the month of October, given that Halloween is just a week away. I don't know if you guys are big fans of Halloween. I like Halloween. It's not my favorite holiday, but I really enjoy it. I've been publishing a quick 10-second short every day, just recommending a different Halloween film or TV show to watch if you guys are looking to keep yourselves entertained or get in the Halloween spirit. So there's that as well. The next reviews for this week that I know are definitely going to go into the can are going to be Skyfall and The Last Night in Soho. Now, I think that The Last Night in Soho is probably my most anticipated film for the month of October, which is crazy to think about that October's almost over, because we've had some awesome movies this month, just all the way around. It kicked off with Venom: Let There Be Carnage, then it moved into No Time to Die, which I thought was absolutely excellent. You guys should definitely see it if you haven't yet. Then The Last Duel, Halloween Kills, Dune, Last Night in Soho coming up, and I believe there's probably others that I just am forgetting about or missing. And my God, October, as one of my favorite podcasters, Robert Meyer Burnett, puts it, it's the murderer's row of movies releases for the month of October. And he was right. He was absolutely right, because all of these movies have just been great. But I watched Skyfall last night. Given that I watched No Time to Die a couple weeks ago, I've been bitten by the Daniel Craig James Bond bug. I saw 2006 Casino Royale for the first time in 2006, was blown away by it. Watched it again, oh God, a long time ago, about a year ago, blown away by it again. And I've seen Quantum of Solace. I don't remember what I thought of it. It has been a long time since I've seen it. I even played the video game on the Nintendo Wii, which was a shit ton of fun, because I had the little Nintendo Wii gun attachment that you could put your Joy-Con and remote into, and you can use it as a gun throughout the movie. Oh my God, it was so much fun. Or I should say game. I don't know why I said movie. But Skyfall was interesting. I'm not going to give too much of my thoughts on this because I still have to review it and make a video about it, which is going to come out. But Skyfall was interesting because I didn't know what to expect going in, and it's kind of in the middle of Daniel Craig's tenure as Bond. But in terms of it being in the middle of Daniel Craig's tenure, it's like toward the latter quarter of James Bond's tenure in MI6. So it was really interesting seeing him play an older Bond, I guess you could say. It was very he at one point in the movie, this isn't a spoiler, it's just a cosmetic feature, but at one point in the movie he's got like a small beard growing, and I just thought that was a really interesting touch. I'm like, man, I never thought I'd see Bond with a beard feeling grizzly, I guess. It was a very interesting look at Bond that I wasn't expecting. The villain was played by Javier Bardem, who I thought did pretty great. And Judi Dench, she, of course, is M. And my God, does she act her ass off as M? She is just absolutely perfect in that role. But anyways, that's going to be coming out within the next few days. And then, of course, I'll review Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho was my most anticipated movie of the month of October, mainly because of the reason that, one, I love me a good thriller or horror movie. The more of the trailers that I see for this movie, the more I realize, though, this isn't really a horror movie, which kind of bumped down my anticipation because I was fully expecting to see an Edgar Wright horror film. And I am a big fan of Edgar Wright since seeing Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, for me, if I had like a top 10 list of movies to recommend to somebody who has never seen movies before and wanted to get well versed in culture, Scott Pilgrim would no doubt in my mind be in that top 10 list. It was done so uniquely, so well, and I am a fan of Edgar Wright for life because of that movie, because it is just, it's so wholesome, it's so good, it's so relatable, and it's so goofy and funny. And it's just something that I've just carried with me since I watched it last March of 2020 I watched it. My God, yeah, it was March of 2020 when the pandemic started. Now here we are about 18 months later and it's still going. I never thought we'd still be in it, but hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. But anyway, what does this have to do with Last Night in Soho? The fact of the matter is, Last Night in Soho is going to be directed by a great director in Edgar Wright. That in of itself is enough to get me excited. Plus, you've got Thomasin McKenzie and the likes of Anya Taylor-Joy, whose just career is just kind of shot off like a rocket between The Queen's Gambit and other projects she's been doing. And for those of you who don't know or are curious, she's also going to be playing the voice of Peach in the new Super Mario movie. And Nintendo, when they made the announcement of the cast for that, I was kind of surprised and blown away because there's a lot of big names in that, but I guess time will tell if the movie's any good. But yeah, Last Night in Soho is still my most anticipated movie of the month. I'm going to see it next weekend. Not sure if it's going to be Friday or Saturday, but I can't wait to see it. Then moving next into this weekly recap, my weekly obsession. I like to talk about the thing that I obsessed about all week long because when I tend to get latched onto something, I really get latched onto it. And for this week, it was Far Cry 6. I am a huge fan of the Far Cry franchise overall. I fell in love with it in college when I played Far Cry 4. I believe it was over summer break for the first time. And just, I was so blown away and obsessed with Pagan Min, the scope of the story, with Ajay's journey. I wasn't obsessed with Ajay in particular, but Pagan Min and Ajay's quest to just put his mother to rest, lay her ashes back to where they belong, was just, I was so enamored with it. The gameplay was a ton of fun. I will say I can understand why people get frustrated with the gameplay of Ubisoft games, and Far Cry 4 is definitely no exception to that, because you've got things like skill trees, you've got to use money to upgrade your weapons, you've got to unlock your checkpoints so you can have more visibility of the map. Stop me if this sounds familiar, because if you've played Assassin's Creed, if you've played Watch Dogs, or if you've played Far Cry, that's the basic fundamental DNA of Ubisoft games. And for a lot of people, I can understand how that would not be their cup of tea. For me personally, I absolutely love it. The one thing that is really key for me in all of that, though, is as long as I am playing through a good story, I will do the same thing over and over and over again and just have a shit ton of fun doing it. Because if the story is solid and strong, you can count me in. And by and large, for the Assassin's Creed franchise, for the Far Cry franchise, I can't say the same for Watch Dogs, as I've only played one of their games, but that has been the case where we've had strong story, albeit similar gameplay. But I've been playing Far Cry 6 all week. I have been very I've been having a lot of fun with it. The story I don't think is very strong, which is a little disappointing, but I've been having a lot of fun with it. It kind of just does, it doesn't take too long to get going, which I kind of appreciate. You kind of just get right into the shit. And it really, I think it really does hamper the story because you don't even really get a ton of time to know the characters going into it. For example, Juan Cortez, the only thing I really know about Juan Cortez is he was two intelligence agencies, and people say he's like this awesome guerrilla. They call him the freedom fighters in, I'm trying to remember, fictional Cuba, I guess I'll call it. I just don't really buy into it. I just don't really buy into it. They say he's strong and solid because he's into military services and he makes cool weapons, which is a recipe for fun, not a recipe for a great story. And I think that's summing up my experience with Far Cry 6 so far. Nonetheless, I'm having a great time playing. I'm definitely at least 10 hours into it. I played for like 4 yesterday because I just needed to catch up, and I've been trying to catch up on games. But for those of you who are looking for a Far Cry game that is fun, that is not really that different from previous experiences, albeit a couple of small things, like there's no skill tree anymore, which is kind of nice. The weapons are a little bit more unique. Then I think you'll like this game. If you're looking for an awesome story to be told, it's really hard for me to say whether or not the story is great because I'm only like a third of the way through the story because the game is very dense. So take that for what it's worth. But that's been my obsession for this week. And probably when I'm right done recording with this podcast, I'll probably go play it again because I got games to get through. I still have to finish Psychonauts 2 as well. And that game has just been, oh my God. If you guys haven't played Psychonauts 2, it's on Game Pass. Please, for the love of God, play it. Kind of life-changing. Okay, so that kind of brings me into the main topics for this week's episode. We've got a couple of them. First, I'm going to talk about DC fandom. I'm also going to get into the surprising box office results from last week. And then we're also going to talk about Mel Gibson's casting in The Continental, which is going to be the John Wick spinoff series. I'm going to talk about my thought of the week, which is going to be what is the best movie food when going to the movies. Then I'm going to give you guys some recs of things to play, things to watch to get you into Halloween spirit, and then we'll wrap up the episode and let you guys go about your merry day and just thank you for, again, joining me. So, my friends, let's get into it first. Let's talk about DC fandom. DC fandom, it was my first fandom. It took place last Saturday. DC made it or I should say Warner Brothers made it a 4-hour event that you could just stream on really anywhere, their website. I streamed it on YouTube through the IGN channel, which shout out to IGN for that because I absolutely love those people. They make great content, great podcasts, and just provide a lot of great services. So I guess that would be like I don't know if I'd call it a dream job or not, but if I had to work anywhere in the world, IGN, that'd be kind of fun. So that would probably just be kind of fun. That would be a ton of fun. Seems like a great place. But anyways, DC fandom took place, and I've heard a lot of poor reactions for it. I myself didn't really think too much of it. The thing that really was a bummer for me was I spent 4 hours watching it, but I really only liked about 20 minutes of what I saw. There were 5 or 6 things that they talked about, and the rest of it that interested me, and the rest of it just felt like comic book filler that just wasn't very entertaining. What were the 5 or 6 things that they talked about that I really enjoyed? The look at Black Adam for the first time, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam. I know nothing about Black Adam, but just the fact The Rock was attached to it was enough to get me intrigued and excited. A first look at the Flash, the teaser with Ezra Miller. It was a little awkward, the delivery of that Flash teaser, because of the fact that, and this was, I think, a valid criticism of a lot of the people who were speaking at DC fandom, and the fact that it was pre-recorded. And I've heard other people point this out. Nobody seemed like they wanted to be there. Nobody seemed like they wanted to be there when they were speaking at DC fandom. None of the actors looked very excited to be there, and it kind of just felt like a slogfest. Like the 4 hours was made much slower because all of the speaking was disingenuous. It was apathetic. It was fake. And I know I might be a little bit harsh, and maybe my expectations were a little bit too high, this being my first DC fandom, the second one in history, but overall, I just didn't think it was a great presentation. And the Flash teaser, to me, was a reminder of that. Just when Ezra Miller was kind of previewing it, he really did not seem like he wanted to be there. But nonetheless, the Flash teaser I thought was pretty exciting, pretty excellent. They didn't really show us much. They showed us a little sneak Cowl Batman. Apparently, it's supposed to be Michael Keaton. apparently it's supposed to be Michael Keaton. Until I see his face, I'm not going to say whether or not. I know people say it's confirmed it's Michael Keaton, but until I see his face and until the studio tells me explicitly, I'm not going to believe it. So take that for what it's worth. Also, the Gotham Knights video game, I know they touched upon that at least a little bit. Either that or I was dreaming it. Me, I absolutely loved the Batman Arkham games. Arkham Asylum was a ton of fun. Arkham City, I still have to play through. I played it for like a first half hour. I had to take a break from it and play something else just because I had kind of burned myself out on Batman. Because I played Arkham Knight right before that, and I've even played Arkham Origins, which I believe is a bit of a spin-off. You know, it was more during the early days of Batman's tenure. But I loved all those games. All those games are a ton of fun. And no spoilers here because I want to pay respect to those of you who haven't played Batman Arkham Knight yet. But the ending of Batman Arkham Knight, when you like 100% of the game, if I'm not mistaken, it leads into Gotham Knights. And I'm really intrigued to see where the Gotham Knights are going to pick up the story from there. I mean, how great the story will be executed and how great it will be, time will tell. But the fact is, I'm excited to play characters other than the Batman and just see how his proteges kind of take up the mantle and cope with the city. And I thought DC Fandom did a pretty good job showcasing that, or at least previewing the game. So good on them for that. If my memory is serving me wrong and they for some reason didn't preview it at DC Fandom, well, you still got my thoughts on Gotham Knights anyway, so take that for what it's worth. Also, a sneak preview of Shazam! Fury of the Gods was interesting. I'm not really a big one for sneak previews and things of that nature, but I still enjoyed it. I watched Shazam for the first time actually over Labor Day in September. And the movie came out in 2018. I didn't know what to expect. The movie is very novel. It was very interesting, and it answers the fundamental question, which was put very well by Jeremy Johns when I watched his review, was what would happen if a 14-year-old kid got superpowers with his best friend all of a sudden. It was so whimsical. It was so fun. Zach Levi did a great job. The kid who played Billy Batson did great, and also his best friend. And I even like the adopted parents in the movie. I can't remember the actors who played their characters, but they did a great job of showcasing the true love that they feel for these kids and the fact that they are one big family, and also heartbreak in the story. And I'm excited to see Shazam! Fury of the Gods as a follow-up to that. So good on DC, and I'm glad that they showed that all around. In addition, the Peacemaker series sneak peek and the roundtable that they had with John Cena and all the other actors who were in it, along with why am I blanking? James Gunn, who's directing the series. There was so much to love about the Peacemaker trailer. John Cena messing around in his underwear was really, really funny. I remember seeing the Suicide Squad that came out a couple months ago. Seeing John Cena in his underwear randomly out of nowhere got me bursting out laughing in the movie theater. And it is really hard to get me to laugh, guys. Like, I do not laugh at movies very much. Like, a movie has to be truly funny to really... And I think that's actually true of all comedy. Comedy is hard. And the fact that the Suicide Squad made me laugh on a couple of occasions was great. And the Peacemaker series looks like it'll be an indication of that, because John Cena was in his underwear a lot. The moment where he had the bald eagle hugging him was pretty fantastic. I thought that was pretty great. And it seems like John Cena's really going to be having fun leaning into the character of Peacemaker. And I can't wait to see where that series goes. I am not a big fan of TV series in general. I know that this podcast, one of the main topics is TV shows, but it just turns out that the least amount of content I do is around TV shows. So the fact that it's a TV series in and of itself, I'm still very excited. I'm not as excited as if it were a movie or something like that, but I'm looking forward to the Peacemaker, and I can't see what James Gunn has done with it. Now, lastly, the most exciting thing that I saw at a DC Fandom was, of course, the second Batman trailer, which I've been waiting for a long time. A lot of you have, because the first trailer was absolute gold. It was baller. It was a ton of fun to watch. And the second he says, "I'm vengeance," it was, oh my God. I'm like, Arpat, my guy, you're wonderful. You're absolutely wonderful. And for those of you who don't know much about Robert Pattinson, you might, a lot of pop culture might know Robert Pattinson as the guy who played Edward Cullen in Twilight, which is a very successful franchise in which him and Kristen Stewart got paid a lot of money and made a lot of notoriety in doing so. And if that's the only project you've seen, I could see how you might be a little bit apprehensive about him playing Batman, the Caped Crusader, a very dark version of the Caped Crusader from the looks of the trailers. But if you have not seen any of other Robert Pattinson's movies, I highly recommend it. Good time. The Lighthouse is a little bit weird, but it shows off movies like that and all around a couple of others to really show off his acting chops. He's done a lot of independent movies just to kind of get his reps in, perfect his craft, and it's really started to pay off because now he's being cast as the Batman, and I hope he does. I hope he crushes it in the Batman, and I have all the confidence in the world that he will do, that he will. And I love the guy because he's just, if you watch any of his interviews, he's so relatable. He's so calm. He's so chill. He's a human. He feels like a human and not like some superstar, which to me is just absolutely great. But what does that have to do with the second Batman trailer? The second Batman trailer to me was absolutely great. The fact that it seems like we're getting a darker, grittier version of Batman, as I put it in my breakdown video, which I'll link again somewhere in this video. And it was just cool to see because it seems like Batman has not been portrayed on screen to me in a way that is very honest, very candid, very brutal, and very bruising. Like, if I had to peg Batman in my mind's eye, he is a bruiser, kind of like Daniel Craig's James Bond, as Robert Meyer Burnett has put in it. And it's going to be really cool to see him kind of get reckless, kind of come into his own as Batman. At least that's what I'm assuming. I'm assuming that this is an origin story for our Caped Crusader, and to see him working with Selina Kyle and just seeing all this be impalpable building up, and the fact that he's kind of bulletproof from the trailer has gotten me really, really excited. And I'm also excited to see just the array of villains that he's going to be hunting down, including Colin Farrell as the Penguin, which, if you guys didn't know that Colin Farrell is the Penguin from that trailer, yeah, their makeup is that good because that's Colin Farrell under all of that. And between him and the Riddler, I didn't know this, but Paul Dano is playing the Riddler. I've heard great things about Paul Dano, not too familiar with his work, but this movie is shaping up to be something great. And I can't wait for March of 2022 when it does come out, because I will be smiling like a kid in a candy store in the theater, hopefully for the entirety of the film. And it looks like Matt Reeves is cooking up something great. So that was my most exciting thing about DC fandom, was that trailer. It was the highlight along with the Peacemaker series. And for those 5 or 6 things, kind of wrapping that all together into my overall thoughts on DC fandom, those are like the 5 or 6 highlights that I had that really got me super pumped for it all and got me feeling passionate. So other than that, though, I gotta say, it did have its high points. DC fandom had its high points, but overall, I thought it was pretty boring. Those 5 or 6 high points maybe made up a half hour of the 4-hour saga that it tended to do. And the reason being is because it seems like they talked about a lot about fan stuff, which is fine. I don't have a problem with them talking about fan stuff and showing off fan work. But they also talked about like a lot of comic book stuff, which I'm not really into comic books, guys. I gotta be honest. I enjoy comic books adapted into films because I love movies, I love video games, and I love TV shows. So when I see them talk about a ton about comic book stuff or animated cartoons, which I don't really enjoy the animated cartoons, aside from The Long Halloween. I just watched The Long Halloween on HBO Max. That was actually pretty good. I was shocked that I enjoyed it as much as I did, because I usually don't like animated stuff. But they talked, those 3 things really made a majority of the show. And when you stack that on top of just very uncharismatic speakers, very uninterested actors who are climbing into DC fandom and giving their 2 cents, it was overall kind of disappointing. I was really expecting a big event. Like, I randomly stumbled upon it. I had a big bowl of popcorn that I was just consuming watching it, and it was okay. I had an okay time, but overall, I think a lot of people will feel a disappointed or slighted by it. If you guys want to make a judgment call for yourself, it's on YouTube right now. Everybody and their mother pretty much recorded it. All the news outlets did. DC probably did as well. And so you guys can watch it, judge for yourself if you see anything you like in there that's interesting. So that's my overall thoughts on DC fandom. I won't bend your guys' ear about that any longer. But what did you think of DC fandom, guys? If you have seen it, whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Feel free to let me know. Okay, so as promised, let's get into the next topic. I want to talk about the box office results of last weekend with the debut of Halloween Kills and the Last Duel. Now, if you guys are familiar with the channel, I usually put out a short each and every week to discuss the box office champions, the top office winners, just because it's fun, because I like studying these numbers, kind of debating on what might be the reasons for it and what could be attributed to it, because it's almost like trying to solve a puzzle, and I enjoy solving puzzles, and especially those about money. So the box office results, here were the top 5 winners. Number 1 was Halloween Kills, earning over $50 million at the box office. I was shocked that it came out on top, but I'll talk about why in just a minute. No Time to Die came in second at 24.3 million. Venom Let There Be Carnage came in third at 16.5 million. The Addams Family 2 came in fourth at 7.2 million. And The Last Duel came in fifth at 4.8 million. I've seen 4 out of the 5 movies in the top 5 from last weekend in theaters or on streaming. I was a bad boy. I decided to watch Halloween Kills on Peacock, because I was just feeling it. I, for whatever reason, wanted to watch Halloween Kills, mainly because of the fact that I'm not a big fan of the Halloween franchise, and I didn't want to take the risk of spending $15 on a ticket to go see a movie that I didn't really enjoy in a crowded theater. Because my God, that theater was so crowded opening weekend for Halloween Kills. I don't think I could have standed it. But anyways, I'm gonna wait to see Addams Family 2, because just the murderer's row of movies that have been coming out lately, it doesn't really merit, and I'm not interested enough in the Addams Family 2 to go see it. So I'm going to wait until it is available on Amazon Prime Video to watch it later on when I've got more time. Like I said, the rest of you, if you guys are interested in any of these other movies, feel free to find the reviews on my channel. I reviewed 4 out of 5 of them so far. But getting into what surprised me and what didn't surprise me about this list. So, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Halloween franchise, and I never fully realized how much of a following it really had amongst the fan base. Here's what I mean. When I would go through social media the weekend it came out, I saw a lot of friends, a lot of families, a lot of fans watch it together on Peacock on streaming, go see it in the theater together, cherish and get in the Halloween spirit. I even saw some people dress up, which is really cool. I love it when people go all in like that. It's great when you can get into something you absolutely love. I went to the theater that Friday night to go see The Last Duel, because I was more excited for The Last Duel than I was for Halloween Kills. No idea why, but the theater was packed. The theater was absolutely packed. The parking lot was the busiest I've seen it in over 2 years, since I went and saw the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, episode 9 of Star Wars. And I immediately knew at that point that a lot of people were there to see Halloween Kills, because it was its opening weekend. And for those of you who don't know much about box office, you make the majority of your box office in the first weekend that you're open. That's just how consumer behavior tends to be, because those who want to watch a certain movie are going to rush out the first weekend and go see it immediately. But I saw so many people, I'm like, wow, this movie has got a shot at making a lot of money given everything I've been seeing. Now, granted, I live in not a big metropolitan area, and my small corner of the world is in no way representative of the larger population, but it crossed my mind. I'm like, I wonder if the rest of the country and the rest of the world feels this way about Halloween Kills, and it's going to make the most money. And it just surprised me. And then, sure as shit, I went to look at the numbers on Monday morning, and I saw that Halloween Kills made over $50 million and won the box office for the weekend. So that is very exciting for the Halloween Kills creators and for the studio, because I believe the budget for Halloween Kills was half of that. And when you double what you make in double what it cost to produce the film, that's cause for celebration and a lot of excitement. The reasons why it made so much money is because of the following I'm guessing that it has, plus of the fact that the number of screens Halloween Kills was playing was quite plentiful. The movie isn't super, super long, which allows more showtimes to be played. More showtimes means you have an opportunity to make more money. Plus, Halloween is right around the corner. Halloween's a week away from today at the time of this recording. So people are going to want to see a Halloween movie to get them in the Halloween spirit. And what better than the classic character of Michael Myers, because he shines as himself in this movie as well, which he kills a lot of people in this movie. If you're looking for a gore fest, a classic Halloween Michael Myers gore fest, that movie will not disappoint you. And it didn't really have a whole lot of competition this week because of the fact that The Last Duel wasn't a very popular culture film. In this case, the demographic for the movie was a little weird. Also, No Time to Die was in its second weekend, and No Time to Die is a little bit more historically popular overseas than it is domestically here in the States. So, and you top that on fact that No Time to Die was in its second weekend of release, debuting, and when it's already in its second weekend, like I said, if most of the people who went to go see it would see it in the first weekend, then that means less people are going to go see it and more will have time to go see Halloween Kills. So Halloween Kills had the boulder rolling for it down this monumental hill with Halloween coming around and having really no other movies to compete against it. So for those reasons, I attribute it being number one at the box office, and good on the movie for that. No Time to Die coming in second, I wasn't too surprised at. And I am also going to say that Venom Let There Be Carnage, I wasn't surprised that it came in at number 3. And I apologize to you guys because I believe I accidentally skipped over Venom Let There Be Carnage. I did, I'm so sorry. Venom Let There Be Carnage came in at number 3 at 16.5 million. So No Time to Die came in second at 24.3 million. Venom Let There Be Carnage came in third at 16.5 million. Adam's Family 4 came in, or Adam's Family 2 came in fourth at 7.2 million. Last Duel came in fifth at 4.8 million. So apologies for that, but I wasn't really surprised that No Time to Die and Venom 2 came in second or third. Those two movies are part of very popular intellectual property IP, and the fact that they're multiple weeks into their release means that a lot of the movie-going audience who wanted to go see it will have already seen it already. And the movies are popular. The movies have been received well by audiences by and large. I believe they are both sitting at over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, or 85%. Might even be 90. Last I checked, No Time to Die was at 92, which good on it for that. But I was a little surprised that what was I gonna say? Why am I losing my train of thought? Oh, sorry. Anyways, I'm a little surprised that The Addams Family 2 has been in the top 5 for the last like 3 to 4 weeks. It came out the same day as Venom Let There Be Carnage. And the fact of the matter is, The Addams Family 2 is more dedicated to kids. It is an animated film. And with the state of the world right now with the pandemic, I can understand why a lot of parents might be apprehensive about taking their kids to the theater to watch The Addams Family 2. And the fact that The Addams Family 2 has been in the top 5 in box office for the last 3 to 4 weeks has been very, very impressive. I would say that I would be shocked if The Addams Family 2 stayed in the top 5 after this weekend, because Dune came out this weekend and a lot of people seem to have liked Dune and a lot of people seem to be into it. However, having said that, with Dune also debuting day and date on HBO Max, for those of you who don't know what day and date is, it means the same exact day that it debuts in theaters, it will also come out for its subscribers on HBO Max. And in this case, it's especially hurting Dune because you could actually watch Dune on HBO Max a little bit quicker than you could in the theater. They decided to bump up the release date for it on HBO Max by a full day because Warner Brothers is really trying to lean into their service, their streaming service, which I don't know if it's a mistake or not. I would say it would in terms of box office, but if I had to call it, Addams Family 2 will probably have spent its last week in the top 5 box office this week, given Dune's release going on. So, but then again, given the situation with HBO Max and Dune debuting day and date, that might not prevail. So that's my thought on The Addams Family 2. So good on The Addams Family 2 being in the top 4 or 5 the last few weeks, because with the Murderers Row movies that's come out this last month, it's been tough going for that. So, and then moving into The Last Duel, which is what I actually went and saw last weekend, I was a little surprised to see The Last Duel only make $4.8 million in its opening weekend. But that was my initial thought on it. When I started to think about it more, a few things came to mind. One, it's not a very appealing movie to the wider movie-going demographic. For the casual movie viewer, which you might be into that category if you're watching this right now, or if you're into movies like I am, you might be a little bit of more of a movie fan. but it doesn't appeal to a very wide demographic. The one thing that it really has going for it is the fact that it's a historical movie. Those of you who are into history might be into this movie. The fact that it's centered around medieval times, that also bolsters that. And the DNA of this movie, it had more of an Oscar bait vibe to it. You know, you had very prolific performances between Matt Damon, who is an Academy level actor, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, Jodie Comer. All of them just give these awesome performances that are probably, a lot of people would say, are Academy level worthy. And when a movie is only appealing to a very small market, those who are into historical epics, and also really good stories, because I think the previews did a good job of showcasing what the story is about. And you're maybe a movie buff who's into these Oscar bait films, it's a very small percentage of the market. The trailers are good for this, but I don't think it's enough to overcome that. Plus, another thing, it was rated R, and rightfully so, because this movie was very, very rated R. I'll just leave it at that. You watch it for your own thoughts. But when a movie is rated R, it significantly limits the audience that you can have, because those 16 and under won't be able to get into the theater without a parent or guardian present. Not every parent or guardian is going to be comfortable taking a minor to the theater to go see a movie, a rated R movie. So when it limits your box office in that regard, it can't help but make less money, because the fact is less people in the larger demographic can go see it. So now you're not only appealing to historical movie buffs, but you're also appealing to historical movie buffs who are into Oscar bait movies, and any of the names I previously mentioned who are 17 and older. So now you've got a very small subsection of the market. And when that is going on, that's not exactly a recipe for monetary success. But I will say, the thing that it had going for it was the fact that it had an awesome cast in the four names I just mentioned and others. And it had an awesome director in Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott has directed a lot of great projects in the past. And those of you who are movie buffs like I am, or into movies, or just very larger than casual movie fans, you will have likely seen the name Ridley Scott, and your ears might have pricked up and you might have gotten excited. So those two things are enough to be excited for a film. They might not be enough to draw in a large audience, given all the other things that are going into it. Plus, given the high competition that's been going on this month, plus with Halloween Kills coming out in the same exact weekend and dominating a lot of the demographic, because let's face it, Halloween this time of year, with a large IP that's been growing for decades, plus the fact that it is the Halloween season, plus people who have gotten into the IP are big fans of it. It's no wonder The Last Duel did not make a ton of money. So I'm bummed for The Last Duel. I, of course, want every movie to succeed, but I could see why it didn't make a ton of money this time around. I don't think it'll be in the top 5 when it comes to the results that are going to be announced for this weekend. So, my friends, those are my thoughts on the top 5 for the last weekend's box office results. Any big surprises for you? Were you shocked to see Halloween Kills debut at number 1 like I was? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Okay, so moving into the last couple items for this episode before we get wrapping up. I am really excited. I'm really excited because, for those of you who don't know, I am a big fan of the John Wick franchise. John Wick, I am obsessed with. The Baba Yaga is great. I loved John Wick 1. I adored John Wick 2. And I adored John Wick 3. These movies know exactly what they are, which is just one man killing everybody as retribution for the murder of his dog. And it's just wholesome. It sticks to that formula. There are creative kills. John Wick is a badass. Keanu Reeves plays him perfectly to a T. Keanu Reeves shines as John Wick, and I would say Keanu Reeves' sweet spot is sci-fi action flicks. Just look at The Matrix, am I right? And the fact that they're making a spin-off TV show called The Continental, which is going to be centered around the Continental Hotel that we see so often in the John Wick franchise, Nay, I will say the Continental is an actual character in the John Wick franchise because it's just so fascinating, it's so wholesome, and a lot of things that happen are due to the rules of the Continental and Winston, who runs the Continental. So they're making a spin-off TV show for it that's going to be coming out, and it's going to be a 3-night limited series event. Each of these are going to be lasting 90 minutes. So think of it as almost a little mini franchise in and of itself, you know, because I mean, a 3-night limited series event, each lasting 90 minutes. Those are 3 short movies. So you could think of it as a limited series. You could think of it as its own little franchise in itself. But it's going to be centered around a young Winston Scott. In the John Wick franchise, Winston was played by Ian McShane, and he ran the Continental Hotel. And it's going to be centered around him and the Continental Hotel, and I believe how he came into running the hotel, if I'm not mistaken. But they just cast their first member for the TV spinoff. He's going to be playing a character named Cormac. It's Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was cast as the first actor to be in the series. And I'm really excited for it because Mel Gibson is a fantastic actor. He's a fantastic director. And the fact that now the series is getting traction, to me, is really exciting. The one thing I am curious about now is who's going to play Winston Scott. I think I am way more intrigued to see who's going to be playing Winston Scott than I am anybody else, because Winston, to me, Ian McShane brings this character to life and he does a very interesting job. I also want to know if they're going to cast somebody to play the hotel lobby clerk. That guy is super interesting to me and Winston's right-hand man. So I'm curious to see if they're going to tell that origin story of Winston meeting him or working with him for the first time, and who the two are going to be cast as. So as long as it's somebody talented, that all that matters. But my curiosity is now spinning now that this TV series is getting traction. For those of you who don't know about the TV series, just giving you a little bit more information. It's set in 1970s New York, and it takes place 40 years before the events of John Wick 1. So it's going to be a very young Winston Scott. And I thought this was fascinating. I wanted to share this. This series is getting a budget that's around 20 million bucks. So that's a pretty big budget. That's actually a budget that might rival some movies. In fact, that rivals Halloween Kills budget. But then again, 20 million bucks for 270 minutes worth of content, that's actually not too bad. That's not too bad at all, unless I'm mistaken, and that's 20 million for each episode, but I believe it's 20 million for each for the entire overarching 3 episodes. So guys, are you a fan of the John Wick franchise? I am. I hope you are too. If not, that's okay. If you haven't seen the John Wick movies, go ahead and watch them. But if you're a fan of the franchise, are you excited for the Continental? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Okay, now, home stretch of the podcast for this week. Two last little segments I'll give to you. My thought of the week. For those of you who don't know, I've been publishing shorts breaking down 4 big common movie theater foods and why I think they're great as movie theater foods and why I think they're not so great. And the one random thought I had this week is, you know what is the best food that you can eat in the movie theater? Now, I know popcorn has been a staple in movie theaters for a long time, and it's my go-to when I go into a movie theater. There's just something about having a ginormous bowl of popcorn that you can slowly eat throughout the movie, or eat in its entirety before the movie even starts. I've been known to do that too. And the movie theaters have perfected it since the dawn of time, and it's been a staple. However, I explored the possibilities of things like soft pretzels. I explored the possibility of things like cheeseburgers. I've explored the possibility of things like pizza. And I have had friends who have snuck in crazier things in the theaters. One case in point, I had a friend who snuck in her Chipotle burrito into a movie theater, and I had another friend in college who him and his friends they'd make a game out of it. They would see how ridiculous of things could they sneak into the movie theater with them, and they would just up their game each time they went. They got up to rotisserie chicken at one point, my friends. They got into taking in a rotisserie chicken into the movie theater. How they snuck in a whole rotisserie chicken and ate it into the movie theater, I will never know, but I am impressed nonetheless. But it makes me want to try that out. If I ever do, you guys will know about it. Anyways, for me personally, although movie popcorn is my go-to when watching movies, I have to say, I think pizza is the best movie theater food you can have at a movie theater for a few reasons. One, pizza is quite large. And me personally, I'm obsessed with pizza. I think pizza is my favorite food of all. It's really warm. There's something about the sauce with the cheese and pepperoni that is comforting. It's comfort food. And sometimes when you're in a cold theater, Having warm pizza is nice because it just warms your heart a little bit more. And when you have that warm sauce coming into your mouth, it's just, it heats up your whole body. It's just absolutely fantastic. Plus, you can have a lot of it. You can have a little bit of it. You can customize it to whatever you like. If you want to have anchovies, if you want to have, I don't know why you'd want anchovies, but if you want to have apple slices, you can do that. You can do that. The only thing that sucks is if it can be a lot on your lap. It can be a lot on your lap. And when you finish it, it's like you've just got this giant tray in front of you. It's like, what do you do with that? So there's a little bit of aftermath that goes into it. But I gotta say, I think pizza is just wonderful. A wonderful thing to have in a movie. You can stack on it all movie long. It's shareable. If you want to have an extra large pizza with a friend who's sitting right next to you, you got no problems. You guys could easily snack on it for the entirety of the movie. And the one thing that is key to this, guys, the one thing that is absolutely key to having pizza in the movies is the fact that there's not much of a sound that your mouth makes when you're eating pizza, unless it is extremely burnt pizza, which is great. Now, the one thing that sucks about popcorn and why I don't think it's the best movie theater food is popcorn has a very loud crunch. And if you're like me and you chew very loudly, it drowns out the sound of the movie and you can't hear the movie. So if you buy popcorn at a movie theater, you have to choose very strategically when to eat it. You eat all of it before the movie starts. You pick certain points of the movie to eat it when no dialogue is being had. But even then, you might be missing out on a bit of the score because all you can hear is the chewing in your mouth. And it sucks. It takes something away from the movie, and it's really hard because you have to have the balancing act of eating and watching. And no one wants to go into a movie and have that hard balancing act. So that kind of adds to that overall experience. And the thing is, some people chew really loudly and other people in the theater can actually hear it. I mean, it's no problem. Like if I hear somebody chowing down a bucket of popcorn, I salute them and say, hey bro, you do you. It's no problem at all. I can still hear the movie just fine because I've been there. I have chewed very loudly myself in my day and have just maxed out on buckets of popcorn myself. And I've been known to chew very loudly. So no disrespect to any of y'all who do, my fellow film loving brothers and sisters out there. But that's just the reality of popcorn. That's just the reality of popcorn, that it's loud. And for that reason, I just got to say pizza is soft, chewy at most points if done right. It's shareable, it tastes great, and it's warm and comforting. And that's why I think pizza is the best movie theater food. But friends, what is your favorite movie theater food? Or rather, do you have a favorite and do you have a different which you think is the best like I do? Whatever you think, you know where the comment section is. Let me know. Okay, so last segment of the episode, which is going to be my recommendations of the week. I'm going to give you a movie recommendation. I'm going to give you a TV show recommendation. And I'm going to give you a video game recommendation. So not all of these are going to be dedicated to Halloween. Only the video game portion will. But for my movie, I'm going to recommend to you all A Simple Favor. For those of you who haven't seen A Simple Favor, it came out in 2018. It was on Hulu for a while. It's no longer. It stars Blake Lively, Anna Kendrick, and also Henry Golding. Now, if those three names aren't enough to get you excited and invested to watch it, I will give you a little bit of the plot. Basically, one day, Anna Kendrick plays this single mother, who is caring for her child and also her friend's child. Her friend is Blake Lively. Well, her friend Blake Lively disappears, and now she has to find out where she disappeared to and also watch her son. And it's a little bit of a mystery unraveling what exactly has been going on with her friend. And it's really fascinating. Henry Golding is Blake Lively's husband in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. It's been years since I've watched the movie, but I'm going to recommend it to you. It's very good. Go ahead and watch it. I'll leave it at that. Also, TV show, I'm going to recommend The Handmaid's Tale. I don't watch a ton of TV shows because they just take up a lot of time and investment, but Handmaid's Tale is absolutely phenomenal. Season 4 just came out on Hulu. For those of you who don't have Hulu, highly recommend watching it, getting it for just the show. Hulu's got some other good stuff too. But Elizabeth Moss is killer in this series. The story, I will warn you, is a little bit mature. It's a little bit archaic, graphic, but it's just fascinating because it's unique. It's unique. It's a fascinating tale, and it is definitely worth the watch. That'll have you on the edge of your seat. It might take you a couple of episodes to get into it, but once you get past the first couple, you'll be all in for it. So I highly recommend it. And then the last recommendation I'm going to give to you before we end the episode is going to be a video game, which is going to be Costume Quest 2, made by Double Fine Studios and Tim Schafer, which I'm a big fan of. Costume Quest 2 is exactly what it sounds like. You play as a couple of kids on Halloween who are trying to save Halloween from a dentist who's trying to ruin it all and keep candy away from kids. It's whimsical, it's fun, it's the kind of game that you can sit down with a younger brother, cousin, niece, nephew, your own kids, and have a wonderful time playing it. It's a wholesome experience. It doesn't take you too long. It only took me 6 to 8 hours to play through, and I played through it as slowly as I could. So I highly recommend it. It'll get you in the Halloween spirit, and you'll have a great time with your family playing it. So, and it's also on Xbox Game Pass for free right now. Go download it. Okay, friends, that is going to end this episode of Coffee and Kernels, episode 20. Thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. If you guys are liking these videos, click right here if you're interested in seeing more. This has been the Bankrupt Hippo YouTube channel. I've been Bryce, and until next time, have a great day.